Let me tell you something that'll save you a world of trouble after 60. In some situations, the wisest thing you can do is play dumb. That's right. Pretend you don't understand. Act like you didn't catch what they said. Let them believe you're slower than you really are. Why? Because there's power in being underestimated. When folks think you're harmless, they let their guard down, and that's when you see what they're really about. Let's talk about the 7 moments where pretending to be a little slow might just be the smartest move you can make. Picture this: you're at a family dinner. The food's hot, the table's full, and all the voices are bouncing around the room. Then someone, maybe a grandchild or even your own child, drops a little joke about how old people don't get it. Maybe it's about technology, or money, or politics. It stings a bit. You feel your pride tighten up. You want to snap back with something clever. But instead, you chuckle. You let it slide. You say, "Oh well, maybe I am a little out of touch these days." And just like that, the tension breaks. They think you didn't notice the jab. But you did. You just chose not to fight a battle that isn't worth your peace. That's situation number 1. When people try to provoke you with jokes, sometimes silence and a smile are your sharpest weapons. Then there's the second one. You're in a store, and the young cashier talks slow to you, calls you dear or sweetheart, in a way that feels more condescending than kind. You know exactly what they're doing, but instead of snapping, you lean into it. You ask them to explain the sale again. You fumble for your wallet just a little longer. Why? Because sometimes when people think you're harmless, they drop their own guard, and you start to see who's truly respectful and who just fakes it for a paycheck. Plus, you get to walk out of there knowing you stayed in control the whole time. Third moment. When someone is fishing for your finances. It could be a neighbor, a distant relative, or even someone who calls too often. They say things like, "You're lucky to have that pension," or "You must have done well with your house." That's your cue. Act confused. Say things like, "Oh, I don't really keep up with all that," or "My son handles most of that now. I just try to remember where I left my coffee." What you're doing here is putting up a fence without showing your hand. If they were looking to take advantage, now they're second-guessing. You've made yourself look like a poor target, and that's exactly what you want. Let's pause for a second, because pretending to be dumb isn't about being weak. It's about being strategic. You're not giving up your strength. You're hiding it in plain sight. Like a lion lying in the grass, looking like it's asleep. But the moment you need to rise, you do. That's the difference. That's wisdom. Fourth time to play dumb is when someone's trying to pull you into gossip. Maybe at church. Maybe during a community game night. Someone starts whispering, "Did you hear about Carol's grandson?" Or "I saw Frank talking to someone who wasn't his wife." And they look at you, hoping you'll take the bait. This is where you shrug and say, "Oh, I'm not sure I know anything about that." Then ask if they want a refill on their tea. Playing dumb here isn't cowardice, it's class. It keeps your dignity clean. And trust me, the people who don't join in the gossip are the ones everyone ends up respecting the most, even the ones who do the talking. Then there's the fifth one. When someone's bragging in front of you to make you feel small. Maybe they're younger, more successful, flashier. They talk loudly about their vacations, their gadgets, their new kitchen renovation. And they're watching you, waiting for a reaction. That's when you smile and nod. Ask questions like, "Oh, where exactly did you go again?" Let them do all the performing. Don't show envy. Don't try to one-up them. Because you already know something they don't. You've seen decades of life. You've buried friends, raised families, survived heartbreaks, and celebrated births. You've done the real living. Let them have their stage. You know the show isn't real anyway. Sixth situation. You're in the middle of a disagreement. maybe with a friend, a spouse, or someone in your family. You know you're right. Deep down, you're absolutely sure, but they're riled up, defensive, maybe even a little cruel. That's when you say, maybe I'm wrong, I'll think about it. Not because you believe it, but because in that moment, your peace is worth more than your pride. Give it space. Give it silence. Later, when emotions settle, you can revisit it. Or maybe you won't need to. Sometimes being right isn't worth the cost of winning. The last one? When you're in public and you see something wrong happening, but you're not sure it's your place to intervene. Maybe someone's being rude to a waitress, or yelling at their child in a way that feels wrong. You freeze. You feel that itch to step in, but you pause. You stay still. You pretend to look away. Now hear me clear. This one's tricky. Sometimes silence is safety, and sometimes silence is complicity. You'll have to judge that one carefully. But pretending not to see in the right moment can buy you time to decide what to do. Time is powerful. It gives you clarity. There's a quiet kind of genius in choosing when to act and when to appear slow. It's the kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books or degrees. It comes from living. From learning that not every hill is worth dying on. That sometimes the smartest thing you can do is let someone else believe they've got the upper hand, while you're holding the real cards behind your back. We live in a world that moves fast, talks loud, measures value in confidence, speed, and sharp comebacks. But there's something sacred about the slow smile of an elder who's seen it all and doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. That's what pretending to be dumb really is. It's saying, I don't need to win this round. I've already won the war. Let me tell you a little secret. When you get to a certain age, you don't just see through people. You feel through them, their tone, their eyes, their timing. It all tells a story. And if you've mastered the art of playing dumb in the right moments, you start to see how much easier life flows when you're not always on defense. So let's keep going. You've already heard the first 7 reasons. But life keeps testing us, and sometimes the most powerful response is a quiet one. Let's look at how pretending to be unaware can protect your heart. Imagine this. Someone close to you, a friend, a neighbor, starts to drift away. They stop calling. They don't visit like they used to. When you do talk, their voice is thinner, their words short. You could ask, you could push, you could say, "What's wrong? Why are you distant?" But instead, you don't. You act like you don't notice the space growing between you, because in that space you allow dignity. You allow them room to figure out what they need without turning it into a performance. Sometimes people come back stronger when you don't corner them with questions. And if they don't come back, then their absence gave you truth without confrontation. Now let's talk about boundaries. You'd be surprised how often pretending to misunderstand someone's request can protect your time and energy. Let's say someone asks you for a favor. Not once, but over and over. They assume you have nothing better to do. They frame it like, "You're just home all day, right?" And inside you bristle. But outside you smile faintly and say, "Oh, I must have misunderstood. I thought you meant next week, not tomorrow." Or you playfully say, "Oh dear, my memory's not what it used to be. I think I've already got something that day." What you've done is set a boundary, without setting fire to the bridge. And that, my friend, is a gift in old age, protecting your time without drama. Here's another one. When you're at a doctor's office, or dealing with someone in a position of authority, maybe a lawyer, a banker, a government worker, they speak fast, use jargon, assume you'll just nod along. Instead of showing frustration, you ask them to explain it again. Slowly, like you're having trouble grasping it, Not because you can't understand it, but because you want to hear how they react. Are they patient? Are they respectful? Or do they get short and dismissive? Playing dumb here reveals character, and it gives you control. Because when someone thinks you're clueless, they reveal who they are without filters. Let me take you to a grocery store next. You're standing in line. Someone behind you sighs, shifts their weight, mutters under their breath. You know exactly what they're doing. They think you're moving too slow, that you're in the way. They want to rush you without saying it. This is your cue. You fumble for your loyalty card. You double-check your receipt. You ask the cashier to confirm the price of something, and you do it all without raising your voice. Because there's a quiet rebellion in not being rushed, in reminding the world that you've earned your pace. That's not stupidity. That's sovereignty. Then we come to family finances. Maybe you've got grown kids or even grandkids asking questions about inheritance. Do you have a will? Who gets the house? What happens if something happens to you? They say it with concern, maybe, but it feels off, like there's something else behind the question. This is where you smile gently and say, "Oh, I haven't thought too much about all that." Or, "I just hope I live long enough to spend every last penny on ice cream and books." You disarm them with humor. You keep your cards close. Because money and family don't always mix well, and once you show your hand, you can't take it back. Now here's one of my favorites. When someone underestimates your tech skills, they wave their phone in front of you, showing off. They joke about how grandma still writes checks, or Gramps thinks the internet is a series of tubes, and you grin. You say, "Oh, I still use my rotary phone." But deep down, you've got your passwords saved, your camera roll full, and your search history wiped clean. You're not slow, you're just selective. Because while they're busy oversharing online, you're watching quietly, learning how the world works without needing the spotlight. And finally, here's a powerful one. When someone you love makes a mistake, but doesn't know you've seen it. Maybe they lied. Maybe they took advantage of your trust. Maybe they borrowed something and didn't return it. You could confront them. You could call them out. But instead, you wait. You let them think you didn't notice. Why? Because now they have the chance to come back on their own, to make it right without being cornered. And if they never do, well, you've still kept your power. Because pretending to be unaware isn't weakness. It's giving someone the dignity to choose truth, and giving yourself the freedom to walk away without bitterness. Here's what most people don't understand about getting older. It's not that we can't fight back. It's that we choose not to. We've fought enough. We've learned which hills are worth climbing, which insults are just noise, and which relationships are better handled with silence than speeches. Pretending to be dumb is an old trick, but it's not a trick for fools. It's a wisdom play, a chess move. It keeps your peace intact. It protects your energy. And it opens a door for other people to reveal themselves, either as someone you can trust or someone you should never let too close again. So the next time someone tries to corner you with a rude remark, or push your boundaries, or make assumptions about what you know, smile. Ask them to repeat it. Say, "Oh, I'm not quite following. Could you explain again?" Let them believe you're slow. Let them believe you've slipped. Because while they're busy underestimating you, you're busy deciding what kind of person they are. And that, my friend, is how you stay 3 steps ahead, without ever having to raise your voice. See, there's a myth that aging makes you less powerful, that the older you get, the more invisible you become. But here's the truth most people don't see. When you hit a certain age, invisibility becomes a superpower. You're no longer the loudest in the room. You're the one everyone forgets is still watching, and that's exactly when you learn everything you need to know. Let's say you're sitting on a park bench. You're just watching. People walk by, talk loud, act bold. They forget you're there. They say things they wouldn't say in front of someone they think is with it. But you're listening. You're gathering. You're storing. And because they think you're just some old person staring into space, they drop their guard. You hear how they treat others, how they speak when they think no one important is around. That's a gift. You get to see the raw version of people while they think you're too far gone to notice. In the same way, when you're in a meeting, maybe a condo board or a neighborhood group or a church committee, there's always someone trying to run the show. They might talk over you, dismiss your ideas. They assume you're there for decoration. That's fine. Let them believe it. You don't need the credit. You don't need the spotlight. But when the moment comes to vote, to decide, to act, drop a quiet comment. Something that changes the whole room. And just like that, you remind them that wisdom doesn't shout. It whispers. Sometimes, pretending not to understand gives others the chance to step up. Maybe it's your adult children. They're trying to help, or trying to control. It's a fine line. You let them think you're unsure how to pay a bill online, or how to organize a file. So they do it. They feel capable, useful, and in doing so, they connect with you again. Sometimes playing dumb gives them room to show love, especially if they don't know how to say it with words. But other times, you play dumb to protect your independence. Someone says, "Let me take care of that for you." You smile. You nod. You say, "Oh, thank you." But then later, quietly, you go back and do it yourself. You double-check. You make sure things are still how you like them. Because you're not helpless. You're careful. And if the day ever comes when you do need the help, it won't be out of laziness. It'll be your choice, not theirs. Here's another powerful reason to act slow when you're anything but. When life gets heavy, when grief hits, or a health scare shakes you, people around you start treating you like porcelain, like you're going to break if they speak too plainly, so they avoid it. They talk around the truth. They keep you in the dark, thinking it's kindness. That's when you ask softly, "What's the doctor really saying? How bad is it?" And when they hesitate, you smile and say, "It's okay. You don't have to protect me. I'm stronger than I look." Playing dumb in this case isn't about fooling others. It's about giving them permission to be real. And that's a kind of strength most folks don't even recognize. And here's one that'll surprise you. Sometimes you pretend not to remember, just to keep the peace, not because your memory's bad, but because some memories are better left unsaid. Someone wronged you years ago. Maybe they never apologized. Maybe they've forgotten. But you haven't. And still, you let it go. You say, "Oh, I don't remember that." Not because it slipped your mind, but because bringing it up would only reopen wounds that don't need to bleed again. That kind of forgetfulness? That's grace in disguise. It's not foolishness. It's mercy. And it takes a kind of emotional maturity most people don't learn until they're far older. We've all heard the phrase, "choose your battles." But the older you get, the more you realize, most battles don't even need to be fought. They need to be outlived, outlasted, outsmarted. By pretending not to know, you give yourself room to watch, to feel, to make decisions with a full heart and a quiet mind. Not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of truth. And when people finally realize you've known all along, that's the sweetest moment of all. That's when they see you not as a slow, forgetful elder, but as someone who's seen more, felt more, and survived more than they can even imagine. So here's the final truth. Pretending to be dumb in old age isn't deception. It's defense. It's dignity. It's survival. In a world that rewards noise and speed, you choose stillness and subtlety. And that's not weakness. That's wisdom wearing its softest clothes. Because you know something they don't. That sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one everyone assumes has nothing left to say. But oh, if only they knew. Now, if this hit close to home, if it made you laugh, nod, or pause for a moment, you might just be one of the wise ones who figured it out already. Stick around. Subscribe for more stories like this one. And if you've ever pretended to forget something, to save someone else's pride, drop your city in the comments. We see you. We hear you. And trust me, we know you're not as clueless as they think.